help, guess what? It ain't about you, it's about him.
Right.
So for all this period, I was able to give them an example as for why I'm able to continue in the method in which I'm doing. I surrendered. I didn't twit. I twit. You know, when I twit, I twit. But if you surrender, you realize there is a chance that something good might come of this. I don't know what, but I ain't gonna twit. I'm gonna surrender in hopes that I can get something back. And what the Father does when we surrender our will to his perfect will, now we're in position that when that trumpet of his voice, he said, in the day in which you
hear.
Okay, so that's an important instrument that we have been granted our ears. So in the day that you hear my voice,
That's right.
harden not your heart. And so when we see the trumpet, he chose this particular time. When we look around us, when we was little, we used to have to collect leaves because they was all different colors, put them under some wax paper, put another piece of wax paper on them, iron them,
Right.
and take them to school, and the teacher gonna tell you what the different
Right.
leaves meant.
Right.
But as we began to get older, we could look up into the foliage and say, Father, how beautiful. You got 50 trees here and you have designed each and every one of them with the specifications that pleases you.
Right. That's right.
But as a child, we just like to run and pile them up and jump in them or collect them because we weren't of the mindset as to the message that he was showing us. Scripture tells us that there is a time and a season for all things. So, would it be out of order to think that the Feast of Trumpets would be out of order to call us into a dress rehearsal for what we should have been practicing? To get us ready for that day that, and the beautiful part about it, when he told them, he said, tell them ain't no work today. You know how y'all dread getting up going to work. Ain't no work today. Today we go rest on me. It's all on me. So we resting in him, but he's also allowing us to see the purpose behind our preparation for this rest. And then he tells them there has to be an offering of fire. Now we can look back and see when he began to use this offering, and one brother got mad. Cain said, man, take these oranges and apples, and I know they might be bruised up here, Father. But he had instruction knowing that, nice try, wrong guy. Now Cain, you know better. You know better. Now, your offering can be accepted if just ask your brother. He brought the right type of offering. But he tells him, Cain, be careful because sin is crouched at the door.
Right.
Let him know that don't do it, Cain.
Right.
And if you're not careful, that same mindset will allow us to carry out the same mindset. But Yahushua HaMashiach said, if you think on them things, you just as bad as committing the act.
Right.
So when we hear the trumpet, you notice that in the renewed, you'll see the word feast, they went to the feast, but it doesn't give us the specifics. But all the apostles already knew what feast they were attending.
Right.
But he first gives instruction and he said this is perpetual. That means it goes on, these feasts are perpetual. They just didn't stop like we were learned when we went to church. Now that you done joined the church and the New Testament, these things no longer apply. Well, that's what Constantine tried to establish. That's what the Council of Nicaea, people of that magnitude that was what we say is under the abomination of desolation. I know a lot of you, as I probably shared with you before, have some friends that are Spanish. You might know somebody Spanish, and they might have a name Jesus. And I dare any of you to call them Jesus. You know what they gonna tell you?
That's right.
My name Jesus, hermano. Me no Jesus.
That's right.
Jesus. But it's the same spelling.
Right.
I was sharing with Aki that some Jehovah's Witness stopped me and little mama one day. We was walking down the street, and I said, "Thank you, Father." So we began to share with them that sometimes we have zeal without understanding. Now you trying to give somebody some instruction, but have you ever considered or thought, you know, he said in the last days knowledge will be increased.
Right.
These cell phones have a lot of increased knowledge on them, but you have to be careful how you use that knowledge.
Right.
I said, now, that version that you have in your hand, that the brother wrote, comes from the 1601, which was finished in 1611.
There you go.
But that's only 500 years at the most. But did you realize that J that you're using for the representation of who you're serving can't be but 500 years old? But if you believe that the Most High is eternal, that can't be his name. And if you call him his son, as my sister called him, the J-man, Jesus, the J again is 500 years old, so that could be his name. And that's why when we were serving him in ignorance, the Ruach, which is a gentleman, desired to draw you into him. If you were those people that were doing Matthew 5 and 6, hungering and thirsting, then you couldn't be filled with the knowledge you was getting. You wanted more.
Right.
And because of your obedience to say, Father, I know that you got something more for me because your word says so.
Right.
I may not understand it all, but there's something drawing me to a better understanding.
Right.
That's why we're gathered here today.
That's right.
And our learning of the importance of this fall feast that, as they say, kicks it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, it just enhances because the feast that fell before this was such a powerful feast. Does anybody, I know that a few of you know the feast that was before this Feast of Trumpets?
Feast of Weeks.
Oh, yes. And that feast ushered in a new paradigm. Do you remember what it ushered in? Akitai?
The Spirit, the
Ruach HaKodesh.
Ruach HaKodesh came in. Yeah.
And see now, it wasn't that the Ruach HaKodesh wasn't present, because David said, don't take your Ruach from me. So we know that the Ruach was present. We also know that the first suicide bomber had the Ruach on him. Y'all might not have remembered him, Samson. See, he could have been saved, but he didn't want to. He said, let me perish.
That's right.
And pulled it down, and he killed more of them in death than he did in life.
Right.
So we have to be mindful when you hear an instruction, you have to try that spirit, because if he killed himself along with them, would that be suicide?
That's right.
But if you go over to the book of Hebrews, isn't he mentioned in that as one of those faithful ones?
That's right.
So we got to be careful what we allow those to hear. When we was under when we were walking in darkness, darkness led us, guided us, and kept us. But when the Father, through his Ruach, drew us to the light, now we can see those things, not to throw it up to them, but to tell them, as Shaul or Paul said, I was once as you. But guess what? I was a murderer too. I was this, I was that, but because of his favor, now I can give instruction as to, it's possible to come out from among them. I'm glad that you, two sisters just came in. I wanted to ask you, because we all have discussed, what does the Feast of Trumpets mean to you when you hear that?
To me,
Yes,
it means, I guess I want to say the message going forth. Your voice is a trumpet. So to me, it represents the voice of truth going forth in the world to the people.
All right, all right. And the young lady with you,
It's my daughter.
your daughter?
Same thing she said.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good, because that means some of the instruction is being passed down. And when we hear as we were discussing the Feast of Trumpets in Leviticus 23 through 5, when Yahuwah tells Moses, join the people together, and he gives an instruction as to the blowing of the trumpets or the shofar. We know that it's an announcement. It's used for the king, the announcing of the king. It's used for an alarm to assemble war is coming. It's also used for in gathering, a call to assemble, for us to come together. But you're right, because in the book of Revelation, that voice as the sound of a trump gives the instruction, brings people to a better understanding. And so all of these, we didn't have any wrong answers. All of them are applicable, because we see the influence of what trump, the sound of these trumps, of these shofars have, and that the Father intended for us to enter in through that particular advocate that he had provided for us. I would just, in closing or opening the floor for anyone that would have comment, it allows us, when my wife and I was preparing to come up here, I said, I talked to our key, and it reminds me that I need to adorn myself for the Most High. He's allowed me at the young age of 69 to still work up to maybe 14 hours a day some days. I do landscaping, so I'm cutting trees, I'm trimming hedges, I'm cutting grass, I'm weed eating, I'm throwing mulch, I'm laying river rock. But through it all, he's using me as an example, because the men I work with, when we get to work, I always say, Father, we thank you for this day. Give us a hedge of protection as we go out to make a decent living. And at the end of the day, no mama will be saying, you drag us when I come home. But when I leave work, I say, Father, we thank you that no one was injured, no one was hurt, and you kept us through the day. So I began to see the seeds that he allowed me to plant. The men began the cussing done cut down. The rowdiness has cut down. But he's using this because I was just willing. I told the brother over a year ago, I just need something for 2 or 3 hours a day. He said, okay, come on in. But my willingness was able to take me to another level. And another brother that told me about the job, he said, man, do you know that brother said you his best worker? I said, man, he got some brothers 45 and 30 that can work circles around me. He said, but they don't show up all the time.
Right.
They don't do what he tell them.
Right.
When he asked them a question, even though he ain't say stop at the store, but when he asked you, say, yeah, I stopped at the store, we had to get something. You know, I was hungry or needed. Man, why you got to tell the truth all the time? Because that's required of us. We may not think anybody watching, but the Most High is watching. So I'm grateful and thankful. My sister asked my wife the other day, brother, ain't observing the high holy day? I said, I already had asked the Father. I said, well, tell sister, I told my wife, tell sister sometime when we able to send them financial blessings, because the Father got me out there spreading his word of being obedient. Because all of our giving and all of our doing is based up on relationship to the Most High. Now, when I was just retired, we could keep all the days. But when I pray and say, Father, I thank you that you have given me the ability, when I look at Caleb, he said, at 80, I want my mountain. So we're thankful that he allowed us, when we keep him first,
Right.
he makes everything else better. Because he said, if you keep me first, I'm going to give you the desires of your heart. But if your will has been surrendered, the desires of your heart mean they align up with the Father's perfect will for your life. So you got a triple double. You can't help it. You're winning all the way down the line. So in closing, I would just like to see if anyone had anything they'd like to add.
I got a question because
Yes, sir.
we read the scriptures on the 7th month.
Yes,
Why would there be a particular season of the month for the blowing of the trumpet? I mean, I think I know, but I just want to ask the question.
Well, again, he tells us there's a season for everything,
Right.
to all things. And prior to that, in that instruction, he also tells them that whenever you harvest the field, don't take everything. Leave some. Because there's some people that's going to need to eat.
Okay.
There's also, do you ever notice that when you see this particular season coming within yourself, that there is a issue going on that cause you to start taking some inventory?
Right.
Because you entering into a place, even in your ruach, that is calling you to take inventory in preparation for what's about to happen. The anticipation. He's put it in all of us. But how we respond to that anticipation gives us the ability to come forth. Now, I'm going to ask Aki, because I just always thought that he was bringing us into this particular time because he's allowed us to see the growth. He's allowed us to see the harvest, with some 30, some 60, some even 100-fold. And now he's allowing us to see this when he said, enter into my rest on this day. Wait a minute. You mean this another Shabbat? This
There it is.
set apart day?
There it is.
Go ahead, Aki.
That's what I was trying to get. That's good.
Every appointed time, that's what Moedim means in the Hebrew. It means it's an appointed time. It's an appointed season. It also means season.
Yeah.
The reason why the Day of Trumpets, or the Yom HaTorah, lands on the first day of the 7th month is because it is what they call it in Hebrew a Shabbutan. So it's not a Shabbat, it's a Shabbutan. It is a special appointed time. Even though it doesn't need 6 days of work, you've done your work in the spring feast.
So it's completion.
Exactly. That's what 7 means.
Right.
7 means completion. So now, remember, Kepha or Peter was talking about how how a day is like 1,000 years unto Yahuwah. We are being escorted into that 7th day.
That's good.
It kills and it eliminates Taoism.
Right.
Because he was saying, the earth been around for millions of years, and it's been, the Big Bang theory and et cetera, it kills all of that. That's why a lot of these particular people who speak are atheists,
Right.
because they have to come away from scripture,
Yes.
which is divine. So when you talk about the Day of Trumpets, as Elder stated, you must bring forth an offering of what they call of ash or of fire.
That's good.
The letters that is used to spell fire is also used to spell husband, which is Ish, and Isha, which is wife. So in order for your marriage to work as husband and wife, you must have the ish or the ash or the fire of Yahuwah for it to work. And so that's why we are to bring an offering made of fire. Now, we got to look at this from a spiritual perspective, because we don't have to bring fire, physical fire, and to present it to Yahuwah. He always sets the physical shadow of things to come. Remember, Paul was talking about that. So now the fire should be in our hearts, our fire, that desire to want to see our groom and our king. That's what we should be presenting on the Day of Trumpets. Isn't that something, how that was brought about way back in the book of Leviticus? How Yahuwah set these times aside to show us the steps of salvation. In the spring feast, we should have been dead with Yahusha, buried with him, and resurrected with him. That's what the spring feast is all about. With the Passover, the death, the day of first fruits. That's the resurrection. As the high priest brings forth what? He raises up the first fruits. First fruits is the best of. And he raises it up to the Most High. The Chag, what we call the feast, because you'll read about the Feast of Ingathering, that's coming up, that's the Sukkot. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. But we are,
The Shabbat.
Yep, right, yep. So, it's called the Shavuot. So, this particular day prepares us, and it calls for us to gather together to prepare for the wedding itself. That's the Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. The Jews tells you must fast, stay locked up in your house, don't eat. That is all incorrect. The high priest must eat the fat of the offering in order for Yahuwah to be pleased. Remember when Moses told Aaron, you must eat of this. So why are the Jews teaching people in Judaism don't eat when Yahuwah had commanded the high priest to eat the fat of the offering on that day? The Day of Atonement is the wedding itself. Read Exodus 23 when you get home. As Moses pours the blood upon the people. When you accept the covenant that Yahuwah is going to give you, this we will do and be obedient. That was done on the Day of Atonement. If you look at atonement, it means at one moment. So we don't have to keep it every year by having the high priest, because we have the eternal high priest, because he did it one time. He's not going to come back and die on the cross every year. That's not going to happen. He's not going to die and become that particular lamb. He became the everlasting or the eternal lamb once and for all. If you read the book of Hebrews, it talks about how the high priest repeatedly, year after year, had to atone for his own sins and his family's before he could atone for the nations. Yahusha didn't have to do that. He did it one time because he perfectly kept Torah. How did he do it? In the Spirit. We can do the same thing. So that's what the Day of Atonement is, and this is why it must be on the first day, because it is escorting us to the wedding. The Sukkot is the wedding reception, or the wedding feast, when we all get to celebrate, eat at the table. And the last great day, it says in Leviticus, that's on the 8th day. What does 8 represent? It's a new beginning, new heaven, new earth. We'll be in a new body. We won't be in this jumpsuit, as my brother said, this jumpsuit called flesh. We will be in spirit form.
And just to add to that, one thing that I really like about the renewed, when we look at the instruction that the renewed gives us, Shaul really put it down perfectly in the book of Romans chapter 12, if you like, verses 1, 2, and 3. Verse 1, he tells us, now we are to He begs us, I beseech you to present your body
Holy.
a living sacrifice.
Yeah.
Living. Because he said the dead had no praise.
That's right. That's
So
right.
he needs a living sacrifice. Set apart and acceptable, which is just your reasonable service. You're not being special. Don't get it twisted. Just that's your reasonable service.
That's
If
good.
you're coming into this truth now. And guess what he'll do for you? Now he will renew your mind, that old thing, that darkness, is passed away, and all things become new. Did you notice when we started to come into the truth, the enemy will try to tap you on the shoulder and say, you better go tell them what they ain't doing. That ain't right. So verse 3 of that same chapter, he says, don't think more highly of yourself than you ought to think. Think soberly.
That's right.
Because Yahuwah had given to every man flesh and woman,
Right.
not a, but the measure of faith. That's a lot of faith.
That's right.
He said if we had the faith of a mustard seed, it'd be on and popping like overwritten bottle. Cast it into the sea. It's gone. So we know that you ever notice how I share with the brother that work all the time, I say, do you notice when we was living in sin, how prosperous we was living? You go to church paying tithe with big face money thinking that you're doing something, and the Father tells you, I don't need that. It's all mine. What are you doing? Giving me a lame sacrifice. Thinking that that lame sacrifice is going to buy you more time. And I shared with you before when I was here, I had it so bad that I would ride around in my car playing that song by, I think it was E40. Lord, please let me make more cheese,
Right.
because I ain't quite ready to leave. And please burn up my enemies. Burn them at 1,000 degrees. And he had to tell me, who you think you one of them too.
Right.
You bringing in these lame sacrifices thinking that this is going to atone for your lawlessness. My sister said, brother, you sure put a lot of money in the offering. Well, I didn't love seeing this week. I needed to drop them big faces in there. Not even knowing that if it wasn't for somebody interceding for me,
Right.
some minister of reconciliation praying in my behalf, that my doom could have been like some of my partners on their back looking up at the roof of the church. And I all the time tell him, man, it was because when he asked me the question, I didn't hesitate to answer, do you believe? And I answered in the affirmative. And he changed my life as a result of that. But even with that, I still was like Jonah. I ain't even Ninevites. I ain't going down there. All you gonna do is save them. People don't realize that Jonah hated the Ninevites.
Right.
Now, how you a man of the Most High, a prophet, and you got an enemy?
Because he was self-righteous.
All you gonna do is say, I ain't gonna tell them nothing.
Yes.
I quit. I'm gonna jump in the ocean. But he had, the Father already knew, okay, you can make your bed hard, but you gonna do it. And that shows his mercy towards us. Even when we get that attitude like we running something, we're not gonna do it. And the enemy is there. You got him. Tell him. You know, we're so thankful that the Ruach HaKodesh don't give up on us. He sent it into he said, I'm gonna go be with the Father. I'm gonna intercede for you. But I won't leave you alone. Even when we are down here thinking that it's about us, the big I and the little you, we have to come to the realization, Father, forgive me. Not only have you given goodness and mercy to follow me, but they can't do nothing if I don't act right. You know, they can egg me in the right, but if I don't use the instruction that you gave me, your Torah, to defeat the enemy with. I'm no match for the enemy. Oh, you can do it. Now, I want to talk to the mother with the daughter. Sometimes she thinks she got a better plan.
Sometimes.
But when you tell her, honey, I've been where you've been.
Yeah.
I know a little bit, maybe a little bit more. Okay? I'm probably a little older than you. Yeah, but mama, you won't find out the hard way. Now, if you do, let's mark this date down. Baruki. So when she come back, what's wrong, baby? I can't hear you. What? You was right. We all have been there. And that's the joy when the Father doesn't give us what, you don't give her what she deserves. Come here, baby. And you give her that hug and you think, Father, thank you. That she heeded the instruction before it was too late. So with that, I'd just like to say, Father, we thank you for sending your Ruach HaKodesh to keep us and guide us and to let all things be done, not only in decency and in order, but with an ahava, with a love, and with a shalom, a message of peace that we all could enjoy it. Father, we pray that the words of our mouth and the meditation of our hearts was acceptable in your sight as we learn not only of your feast and of your Torah, but as how it applies to us as a mispaka and as individuals. We ask in the name of your beloved begotten Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, and by your Ruach HaKodesh, that as we leave one another's presence, Father, but never one another's thoughts, that you keep our hearts and minds fervently stayed upon you. So be it, and so be it.
Thank you. Certainly we thank Elder for the awesome words that we heard on today. Let's give the Most High another hand praise for the word. Amen. Thank you all for coming out on today. Trumpet of Feast. That was a great, that was great. I'm still learning about the feast days and then all of that stuff. So thank you, Elder. I really appreciate that. And we are certainly grateful and certainly surprised to see Moreh Wade in the house today. Yes. Would you like to have some words on today?
No, I'm just a servant. I just.
Come on, brother.
Oh, we know you're just a servant. We know
Give us some dessert. Come on, get that dessert on.
I just thank Yahuwah for everyone that pushed out to came and for those who wanted to come but they were unable. I thank Yahuwah for his plan of salvation for his people and for, how his son has been sent to set the tone for eternal life and for salvation for each and every one of us. So the plan is the most perfect plan. It beats any insurance plan that I'd have never read.
Absolutely.
So I just thank him so much for his breath and his ruach upon each and every one of us.
Yes.
And each and every one of you.
Yes.
Next week is the Yom Kippur, or the Yom Kippur as they would say it. I don't know who's going to do the teaching. I hope that they brush on it a little bit to talk about it, because as we come into these feasts, we're to talk about it. Elder did it perfectly, how each and every one of us, what do we feel, or what do we understand in a ruach as to what these appointed times mean. So this is what they did back when they were in the house. It's in the book of Acts. And this is what they did in the tents when they were in the wilderness. They discussed these important feasts amongst one another. The elders were to teach in the tents and how the presence of Yahuwah was in each and every one of those tents. So I'm just grateful that we have this ruach, that we are chosen, we are peculiar people, and we are in a kingdom of priests who have been escorted out of darkness and into his marvelous light. I'm so excited that now, once we were lost, but now we can see. I remember that church song so vividly as a child. So now I understand completely what that one means.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Prophet, and much ahab unto you and your husband and all of the mishpachah here at Seventh Day Harvest for what you are doing, bringing a small but yet illuminating light into this region.
Right.
And we want to send our love to your queen.
Yes, yes.
Give her
She
our
sends
love.
hers as well. I forgot to say that as well. Last but not least, she's working, but she
watching.
sends her ahava to each and every one of you.
Yes, yes, yes. We love you, queen.
Yeah.
I know you are.
She
You
watching.
We love you. Also, I don't have any books with me today, but certainly we do try to have a book with us every week. I would like for Sister Samakia to come and tell us about her book, and also to Sister Chief to come and tell us about her book as well. In that order, please.
All right. She got her face on the phone.
Okay, the name of my book is The Name Game,
All right.
and the subtitle is The Name of Blasphemy, Abomination That Causes Desolation. And you can get it on, let me see, I see it here on Goodreads, but you should better Google it, basically. If you say The Name Game, and then Deneen Samakia, Semakyah, it gets into the sacred name, and versus the common name, the J man, as my brother just said, and how that all came about, and shows how the transition came into play, and the importance of the actual name of Yah that was put in the Bible thousands of times and subsequently taken out by man thousands of times for various illegitimate reasons that they try to explain away. But this book gets into all of that and shows page after page of proof and evidence as to why that name is sacred and important, and why it should be restored to use in this day and age.
Great, great.
Excellent.
That's great. That's great.
It's $4.95. Yeah. For the book. Yeah.
Where do you purchase it at?
It's an ebook actually. I don't have the hard copy online, but you can get it as an ebook online from Amazon.
Okay.
Good job. Good job.
Excellent.
I used to have hard copies. I sold out and just didn't reprint them. So, but it's available as an ebook.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Enjoyed your message. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about my book. It's called A Mother's Love. It's pretty much my story. Raising my girls. It took me 20 years to write the book, 25 years, 20 years, because I wanted it to be active. I wanted to step by step. I wanted to see the end game. And it's pretty much just talking about parenting, talking about a mother's love, and that's what I called it. And without having that mother's love, the effects, and having the mom's love, the effects also. I do have it on my Facebook page. If anybody goes to Super Cheap, you can order it from Amazon, and it's $15, and I do have an ebook and a Kindle. So the hard copy. I didn't bring a copy, but I do have some at home. So if anybody is interested, I do have it.
How much is that?
It's 15. It's 15. And I do have the ebook. Thank you.
And I do have a copy of that book, and I've started reading it. It is a very, very good read. My husband has the name game on his phone. I have not gotten a chance to read that yet because I need to get my own copy. That's what I need to do of the name game. But because it looks like that's the only way I'm gonna get to read it. That's why get your own copy. Don't copy from nobody else. Get your own copy of The Name Game and Mother's Love off of Amazon. All right. Support our black companies. Support our own people. Support. All right. Certainly we do miss my better half on today, Pastor Douglas. We definitely missed you on today, your presence. Because we know that you always have something to say. So at this time we're going to go ahead and dismiss. I'm not going to hold you all. We're going to ask Elder to come back and dismiss us in his own way. Thank you again, Elder, for coming and baruching us with that word about the trumpets. We thank you again.
I'm going to just share this, so I pray it'll be in your ruachs. He is here, hallelujah. He is here, amen. He is here, holy, holy. I baruch his name again. He is here. Listen closely. Hear him calling out your name. He is here. Holy, holy. You will never be the same. He is here. Listen closely. You will never be the same. Ahava and shalom, Miss Parker.
Good.